Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the web. So, this is our tech segment where we're going to focus on certain unique technologies. So, today we have an extremely different slash unique technology, the LG Wing. So, the LG Wing has been out for a while. Yeah, most of you guys may not have even heard about it, but here's the thing. In my opinion, from the articles I've read, LG has a marketing problem, and additionally, to me, they don't know how to ride the waves as it relates to putting a product out of what people need or want. So, let's get into the article, and it's going to look at the device itself. So the article states LG Wing Review, Learning to Fly, Failing to Soar. And this is from The Verge, TheVerge.com. The LG Wing is a smartphone unlike any other, with a wild rotating design that makes it stand out when compared to even the weirdest 2020 phones. It's also the first phone in LG's new Explorer project brand, which looks to experiment with new ways to think about how we design and use our smartphones. The $999 Wing is a bold experiment, but it can translate that creativity into a phone that's worth the added price. The LG Wing looks cool, but it's also expensive. At $999, it costs as much as a brand new iPhone 12 Pro or Galaxy S20, and more than plenty other fantastic phones. It's a lot of money to put down on a funky screen gimmick, which ultimately is the biggest factor that separates the Wing from less expensive phones with similar specs, like the Motorola One 5G, the Pixel 4a and Pixel 5, and LG's own Velvet from earlier this year. So clearly this article is coming from 2020. Honestly, when I mention about funky screen gimmick, I'm like, okay, so it's a unique design. I wouldn't go as far as to call it a gimmick. I've been hearing that word around this phone a lot, and let's continue. There are some positives to this phone that we're gonna get into that solves a problem. I believe that LG was trying to solve a problem, but let me get into the article. So let's talk about those screens. Looking at the Wing, it's easy to mistake it for just another supersized Android phone. In fact, it looks similar to the LG Velvet, a phone with which it also shares most of its specs, with a 6.8 inch 9.2.5 OLED display. It's just a bit smaller and a bit thicker than the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Credit to LG's design here. At 0.43 inches or 10.9 millimeter thick, it's still compact enough that you wouldn't necessarily guess that there's anything more to it. Of course, the Wing isn't just a big Android phone. With just a flick of the lower right corner of the phone, the entire main design main display swivels up and around to a horizontal orientation, revealing a second 3.9-inch OLED screen underneath. The mechanism is top-notch, with the display gliding smoothly and snapping shut with an incredibly satisfying audible snick. Let's continue, guys. The actual engineering behind the wing is fascinating, involving clever mechanical tricks and a miniature hydraulic damper. And you can actually feel that damper kick in when you slide open the phone. There's an ever so small half-second pause as the display gets caught on the damper, which then slowly and gently finishes its rotation. While the hardware is excellent, the wing reveals that as cool as a concept as the rotating and secondary displays are, there are just not enough practical use cases to justify them. There aren't that many applications that it makes sense to run in a horizontal orientation on Android. Most phone apps are designed to be used in portrait, the way that most people hold most phones most of the time. And even apps that do have landscape mode, like Twitter, Gmail, or even Chrome, just don't look very good that way. Technically, you can use the phone rotated so the main display is vertical, with the smaller screen sticking out like a little vestigial limb. But it's awkward to hold the wing that way, as the bulk of the weight of the phone is still almost entirely in the now horizontal back portion. The best use case is for video or gaming, tasks that actually benefit from a horizontal orientation and can have potentially useful second screen apps. But there were a few situations in day-to-day use where I found it to be faster or worth the extra time and effort to fiddle around with the second screen mode instead of just switching back and forth between apps. Sure, you can watch a YouTube video and text at the same time, but buying a phone just for the vanishingly few times that you might need to do that seems unnecessary. If you're willing to sit down and go out of your way, you can come up with a few use cases where it actually makes sense to use the wing the way LG imagined. It's a fantastic device for completing weekly challenges in Fortnite. For example, I could play the game on the main screen while keeping a Chrome window or YouTube walkthrough open to show the location of the specific items I needed to collect or objectives that I had to accomplish. If you have a terrible attention span during movies, it's also good for scrolling through Twitter or checking IMDb to figure out what TV shows that actor was in while watching Netflix. Although the second small display is hard to use for any overly complex task due to its size and nearly square aspect ratio. There is a constant awkwardness to using the software and the wing, while a few apps like LG's built-in note-taking software or music app are designed to take full advantage of the dual display. Support is rare on third-party apps. It's easy to imagine a world where more apps could take advantage of a second display. Games could offer a Wii U SQ second screen experience for maps or inventory. Or maps could display a list of upcoming directions over on the side of your main navigation, but support is few and far between. YouTube, for example, will pop up a useful set of media controls when you're watching a video on the second display, but nearly every other video app doesn't offer similar options. It's a shame too, because the screen covers the volume keys on the side when rotating out, and they're already hard enough to find. Even the size of the wing and the fact that they're the same size and shape as a power button, which is located directly below. Another barrier is the wing's use of an in-display fingerprint reader, which is located on the bottom of the main display, where you'd think it would be. But the natural way to use the wing isn't to tap the screen and unlock the fingerprint reader. It's to swing open the second display, which puts the fingerprint reader impossibly out of reach. I first registered a finger on my other hand to unlock the phone, and then just shut it off altogether. LG seems aware that it's an issue. When the phone is swiveled open, the numpad for manually entering a password appears on the smaller screen under your thumb. But short of adding a second in-display scanner and a secondary screen, I'm not sure what a good solution here is. The rest of the wing checks nearly every box for an upper mid-range Android smartphone. The Snapdragon 765G combined with 8GB of RAM is enough for smoothly running nearly everything. And the 4000 mAh battery is enough to easily last a full day of battery life, even with heavy use of both displays. The LG Wing also has support for 5G. The model I tested was the Verizon variant, which offers support for both millimeter wave and sub 6 GHz connections. Speeds on that network were marginally better than the LTE, but the real benefit comes from Verizon's millimeter wave network, which is still scarce. Like any other 5G phone, unless you live directly on top of a millimeter wave hotspot, it's not a great reason to get the Wing specifically. There are also a few misses for a $1,000 phone. The screen refresh rate is limited to just 60 Hz on displays, which can help contribute to the occasional slowness of the phone. There is no waterproofing, although it's admittedly hard to imagine how LG could have accomplished that with the swiveling design. The LG Wing has 4 cameras, a single 30 megapixel pop-up selfie camera built inside the top frame, and a trio of rear cameras on the back. The pop-up camera isn't just a style choice to eliminate the notch either. It's necessary to keep the camera located where it should be, even when you're rotating the display. Things are more interesting on the back of the phone though, where LG has 3 cameras: a 64 megapixel main camera, a standard 13 megapixel ultra wide for use when holding the phone that regularly, and a dedicated 12 megapixel ultra wide camera that features a physically rotated sensor that's dedicated to the wing's gimbal mode. The nature of the display means that you can only use the 2 standard cameras when the screen is rotated vertically, and the gimbal mode camera when the camera is rotated horizontally. The main camera is good, with bright colors and a good level of detail, but low light performance isn't on par with 2020's best phones. And while LG's night mode helps to alleviate that, it comes at an additional loss of detail in exchange for the brighter shot. Wow, LG, seriously? Seriously? Couldn't at least fix the cameras first? Boy. But the most notable camera feature is the gimbal mode, which takes advantage of the wing's design. The main display shows your video output, while a smaller panel works as the grip. Complete with gimbal controls, but as much as it looks like a real gimbal mount, LG's implementation is almost entirely software based. The camera isn't rotating around on a different axis to keep in place like an actual gimbal mount would. It's just using digital cropping and a wide field of view. Still, the software effect is impressive. LG does a good job of keeping footage locked and stable, even though a fair amount of motion panning around a frame also results in smooth, clean footage. But the fact that it's entirely done through software means that what looks like the wing's most unique feature is actually something that LG could replicate on any device if it chose. And given the wing's already pricey cost, it's hard to imagine that you're getting a better experience here than with a cheaper combination of, say, a Pixel 5 and a motorized smartphone gimbal. Like the rest of the wing, the cameras aren't bad, but for what the phone costs, you can get better for your money. The LG Wing's rotating display is a marvel of engineering and an incredible fun novelty. The kind of design innovation that's exciting to see in a world where most smartphone designs are just variants on the same identical black slabs. But being new and interesting doesn't mean that something is good. And without better software support or a lower price tag, it's hard to recommend the Wing for anyone but the same jaded smartphone owners. Thank you guys for tuning in to the web. Today was an interesting read. I really like this company. In fact, I own a few of their phones, but I believe that LG really didn't do a good job when delivering this phone, especially as it relates to the software. There wasn't much complaint about the hardware though. As I'm reading from The Verge, TheVerge.com. This link is in the description if you guys want to go over it and check out some additional stuff that they have. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the web. This is our tech segment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, be blessed, peace out.